Nigeria celebrates as democracy wins and history is made. We'll have a live report from the Nigerian capital. As the president-elect Muhammadu Buhari savors his victory, we'll talk to analysts to get a sense of what lies ahead for Africa's biggest economy. Taking charge, top entertainers launch their own music streaming service. Africa 54 starts right now. Good evening, I'm Vincent McCory. This is Africa 54. Well, democracy is the big winner as Nigeria voters choose new leadership and elect former military ruler Muhammadu Buhari as their new president. The country now embarks on its first peaceful handover of power since the end of a military rule in 1999. Viewers and Luke is in Abuja and has this report.
Celebrations erupted before final results were even announced. It was game over for the People's Democratic Party, which has monopolized Nigerian politics for 16 years. President Goodluck Jonathan conceded and called for peace. Mr. Buhari saluted his opponent's statesmanship and congratulated Nigerians. One-party rule is over, he said.
The people have shown their love for our nation and their belief in democracy.
The fourth time was the charm for this ex-military ruler and longtime presidential candidate. The vote is being praised as Nigeria's freest and most transparent yet, despite logistical delays and technical issues at the polls. The opposition united in 2013, forming the All Progressives Congress. The party pledged change amid unfettered corruption, near constant power cuts, and a sinking oil-dependent economy.
He will turn the country around. We know that. But it's going to take time because the country is in a state of complete decay. So we are not under any illusion that there is a miracle going to happen straight away. But
as Mr. Buhari takes office, the Boko Haram insurgency rages on in the northeast. It intensified dramatically on Mr. Jonathan's watch. Thousands of civilians have been killed. More than 1 million displaced. Borno State has been the most affected. That state's results were the last to come in. A new era is about to be born, tweeted one Nigerian. The APC dominated the north in this vote and scored key victories in the southwest, a stark change from the last PDP win in 2011. Kano, the largest city in the north, partied into the night. There was giddiness and a sense of empowerment in the streets. People danced. In Abuja, they chanted, "Father, Father," they sang in Hausa. But they also said they want results, and they will let Mr. Buhari know how he's doing in 4 years at the next election. And look, VOA News, Abuja.
Well, for more details on President-elect Buhari's big win, we're joined by VOA correspondent Peter Clotet live in Abuja. Peter, Nigerian voters sent a strong message that they are ready to move in a new direction on key issues like security and unemployment, right?
Indeed, President-elect Muhammadu Buhari made that clear that the message of the Nigerian people is clear. They want security, they want to feel protected, and they want a different direction that the country is currently in right now.
Well, it's like the first full day in Nigeria for that reality for everybody. What do you sense around the city in Abuja, and what are you hearing from the rest of the country?
The mood in Abuja is that of excitement because before the election of Buhari was declared winner last night or early this morning by the chairman of the INEC, people were really jittery. They feared there could be violence, especially when the PDP party representative at the polling coalition center was a little uncomfortable with the results that were coming, especially from the north. He raised issues and actually halted proceedings for approximately 30 minutes, and people thought that could have created panic. But Professor Jiga stayed calm, answered the questions, and proceedings continued. He later came up to apologize. But then the president went on the air and appealed for calm and congratulated General Buhari. That significantly eased tension, especially here in the capital, Abuja.
And you know, it is indeed significant that the president quickly congratulated President-elect Buhari. But what are the other members of PDP saying? Are you seeing messages of congratulation from all over the country, from PDP supporters and leaders?
Well, not quite. Some of them, as they say, are licking their wounds at the moment. But then when I interacted with them last night and early this morning, they were saying they are planning to launch a legal challenge to the outcome of the result, especially in the northern part of the country, Kano, Katsina, where General Buhari got big numbers there because of the overwhelming support he has from that part of the country. They say that there appear to be voter irregularities or rigging in that part of the country. But when I spoke with Atahiru Jigat this afternoon at the ICC, when I had an interview with him, he dismissed those allegations without merit, but said that the Constitution provides the platform for the losing party to launch a legal challenge that will be adhered to by the court. The court will rule over it, but it remains to be seen how that will go.
Now, Peter, we did mention this a little bit in our earlier report, but what do citizens say they want to see President-elect, once he's sworn in, achieve or tackle immediately?
Well, I didn't get your question clear because of the noise here, but
okay.
What I can say is that General Muhammadu Buhari expressed confidence in the electoral process, and he said that the message to him by the Nigerian people is abundantly clear. They want security, they want good governance, they want a government that hears their cry, they want a government that listens to their concerns and addresses them appropriately. They want security to be bolstered, especially to Boko Haram to be defeated. And he vowed that with a common will and determination that his administration will implement, security measures will be put in place such that Boko Haram will be defeated and that Nigerians will feel secure in their own homes.
And in fact, very quickly, has there been any talk of or activities by Boko Haram, at least in the last few hours?
Well, for the last few hours, it's been really quiet in the north because the military has been putting a lot of pressure on them, coupled with allied forces from neighboring countries.
Well, Peter, thank you very much. VOA's Peter Clote reporting live from Abuja in Nigeria. Well, the White House has issued a statement from President Barack Obama on the Nigerian elections. In part, Mr. Obama said the last few days have shown the world the strength of Nigeria's commitment to democratic principles by turning out in large numbers and sometimes waiting all day to cast their votes. And Nigerians came together to decide the future of their country peacefully. The president goes on to say, I quote, I commend President Goodluck Jonathan and President-elect Muhammadu Buhari for their public commitments to nonviolence throughout the campaign. President Jonathan has placed his country's interest first by conceding the election and congratulating President-elect Buhari on his victory. I urge President-elect Buhari and President Jonathan to repeat their calls to their supporters to continue to respect the election outcomes, focus on unifying the country, and together lead Nigeria through a peaceful transition. End of quote. Now, for some perspective on the historic Nigerian election, Moses Ochonu, professor of history at Vanderbilt University, joins us via Skype from Nashville, Tennessee. Here in the studio, we have Leo Kayan, head of VOA's House Service. Gentlemen, welcome both of you.
Thank you for having me.
And I want to start with you, Professor Ochonu. We have spoken with you quite a number of times on this show. Did you see this coming?
Yes, to some extent, yes, because the momentum really resided with the APC, General Buhari's party. Not only that, I think there was just the atmosphere was filled with this the aspiration for change, and this is the first time ever where you had the opposition having as widespread a support as the ruling party, and maybe just as well financed as the ruling party. So definitely, this was plausible. We saw that this was possible, and it has happened. So it's not a huge surprise, but at the same time, African elections usually give huge advantages to the incumbent leader. And so even when one thought that an APC victory was possible, one still thought that it also was possible that the incumbency factor could trump all the momentum that the APC had.
Yes. And now, Leo, in the past, you know that one of the things that led to opposition parties failing to secure the presidency is that they were splintered, and therefore the votes kind of could not, get together to oust the sitting president. What is it that really made the opposition come together this time and front Buhari and support him?
2 or 3 things, Vincent. The first thing is that the opposition became stronger. For the first time, opposition parties that were splinters came together to form a party, as the APC. Now, under the leadership of people like Tinubu and Buhari, you have states that are very, very solid in Nigeria in that party. States like Kano, Lagos, and Sokoto. These states, tend to have a large power base of not just the material and wealth to run elections and conduct issues, but also the population that it requires to win elections. And these all went to APC's advantage.
Mm-hmm. Now, Professor Ochono, in the past, people have cast candidates like Buhari as, representing the Muslim North. But we saw his victory actually came as a result of having a lot of support in the Middle Belt, in the South and the West. Was that some kind of a realistic analysis of him in the past, or what changed this time?
I think several things were different in this election. One was the emergence of the APC as a formidable opposition, which was very well financed. But also, he benefited, I think, from the splintering of the People's Democratic Party, of the PDP. A huge faction of the PDP, let's remember, broke away and joined the APC. That immediately brought in several governors, several legislators, people with means, people with money who could finance the campaigns. And so that was a huge factor. But also, let's not forget that people were disillusioned about unemployment, about security, about the collapse in the corruption and the power sector. And all of this disgruntled and all of those people, dissatisfied Nigerians, I should say, flocked to General Buhari because he represented an alternative. And the APC promised to do things differently. The APC promised to bring about probity and transparency, to build infrastructure, to create jobs, and so on. So he did. He was able to benefit, I should say, from the collapsing support base of the PDP. He peeled off support from the PDP. But also he benefited from the emergence of the APC for the first time as a formidable opposition to the ruling party.
Now, Leo, some have also kind of, looked and wondered whether most of the people actually, came out in droves out of fear, or was it out of the determination to bring change to Nigeria?
No, I think it's out of resilience and determination to have change. Because, you see, when the election was postponed from February to March, people thought there was an attempt to scuttle it. When the issues of PVC started coming out, people were afraid that this might be cancelled. So Nigerians at a point became absolutely resolute in their determination to prove that democracy can work in that country. But let me tell you this, people are just tired of 16 years of a party that has decided to become exclusive. Mm-hmm. This is a party that now rejects people coming in.
And very interestingly, a party that seems to have been rejected by a former powerful leader in the party, General Olusegun Obasanjo. A last word, Professor Ochono, do you see this as a game changer for Nigeria looking forward?
Yes and no. Yes, because I think it proves for the first time that an incumbent government can be thrown out of office if it does not meet the expectations of Nigerians. So in that sense, it is revolutionary. It has never happened before. And going forward, I think it puts politicians in both parties really on notice that this could happen to anyone. If you disregard the voters and their aspirations and anxieties, this could happen to you. No, in the sense that in the short term, very little is likely to change. You still have a raging insurgency in the Northeast. You have IDPs, internally displaced people, who have to be resettled. So the familiar problems remain: unemployment, inflation, the falling naira, the fall in the price of crude. The Buhari has to contend with all these problems. So Nigerians are unlikely to feel the immediate impact.
So, well, only time will tell. Professor Ochonu, Leo, thank you very much for your perspectives. Well, Moses Ochonu is a professor of history at Vanderbilt University, and Leo Kane is head of VOA's House Service. We want to know what you think about Africa 54 and the stories we covered during the conversation on Facebook. The address is Africa 54, and check out our headlines 24/7 on voaafrica.com. Coming up, we'll have more on Nigeria as the nation looks to move forward and the new leadership. Stay with us.
I am Sheikh Sali, host and senior editor of VOA's international call-in talk show, Straight Talk Africa.
Today, we'll examine the tobacco industry.
We pretty much touch on anything that you can think of: politics, health issues, human rights issues, you name it, we talk about it. The issues that we discuss are pertinent to most people on the African continent. A very, very rare and unique opportunity to interact with their leaders.
I wanted to present music and a side of American culture that is most important to me, that is a part of who I am. They're going to get some incredible performances. That's one of the things I love, bringing these artists in so you can get to see them do what they do. It's soul music, and that's what music is. It's that which comes from the soul.
Welcome back. Crowds of jubilant Nigerians nationwide celebrated the return to power of former military ruler Muhammadu Buhari. The retired Army General won the presidential election by 2 million votes over incumbent Goodluck Jonathan. Mr. Buhari's supporters hope he can strengthen the country's economy and security once he takes office in late May. VOA's Latisa Hoke has our story.
Africa's most populous nation was in a celebratory mood Tuesday when it became clear that Mr. Buhari's lead was overwhelming and his election victory secured.
We are out on the street because we are happy. We need change in Nigeria. A lot of things has been happening. We are not happy, and a lot of our kids have been killed, murdered unnecessarily, and our kids don't have jobs. We want change in the country. We want a turnaround.
Change for the better is what voters usually want from a new leader. But Mr. Buhari is not an entirely new leader. He led Nigeria for almost 2 years after a 1983 military coup, and voters have had an idea of what to expect from him.
The general has ruled this country between 83 and 84 as a military ruler, and then we knew what he did. And we are very optimistic that this time around he will do more than that. And we are very, very hopeful that he will do the biddings of masses, because today masses of Nigeria have spoken.
Mr. Buhari's supporters want him to rid the country of the violent Islamist group Boko Haram, which has ravaged towns and villages in the country's north, killing and abducting people and planting bombs in urban areas. Voters also expect him to boost the economy.
May his tenure bring victory to us, bring peace to us. May we have goods to sell. May we have food to eat. Things should not be hard for us anymore. Water and electricity is of the utmost importance. The cost of fuel, which is expensive, should be reduced for us.
Violence in the oil-rich Niger Delta has disrupted oil production and exports, and corruption has prompted many foreign investors to withdraw their interests from Nigerian oil fields. When he returns to power after a 30-year absence, the 72-year-old retired general will have his hands full. Some of Mr. Buhari's opponents say they are ready to put aside their disappointment and support the democratically elected leader.
Let Nigerians should decide. Since Nigeria said Buhari should be the next president, we will go ahead. Nigeria is one. The sovereignty of Nigeria supersedes every other person, so we must go ahead. To me, we must take it.
International observers say Nigeria's presidential election was mostly free and fair, despite violence in some places. President Jonathan congratulated his rival on Tuesday, and Mr. Buhari asked supporters to respect the opponents and their property. The United States congratulated the Nigerian people on exercising their civic duty and commitment to participate in a democratic process. Zlarica Ho, VOA News, Washington.
Now for more insight, we're joined by Howard Jittah, former U.S. ambassador to Nigeria. Ambassador Jittah, welcome to Africa 54.
Thank you very much. I'm happy to be here.
Yes. Now, give us a sense of, what you make of these results in Nigeria, President Buhari being elected president.
Well, I think that this election was historic and unique in the history of Nigeria. The fact that you had an opposition party overturn the ruling party, the incumbent government, the fact that the loser of the election, President Jonathan, showed great character and courage, I think, in reaching out to the winner, General Buhari, to congratulate him and essentially saying that he was going to support the efforts of the new president. That, to me, is very, very significant for the consolidation of democracy in Nigeria.
Now, Ambassador Jittah, how far do you feel Nigeria has traveled since the time you served there as a U.S. ambassador way back in 2003?
Well, I think that elections in some cases have gotten better. Elections in some cases were not as good as the one in 1999. But I think that Nigerians now have certain expectations about their democracy, and we're seeing a period of maturing democracy, both in terms of process and outcome.
Now, Ambassador Jittah, how significant is this result in Nigeria for Africa as a continent, but also U.S.-Nigeria foreign policy?
Well, when I was ambassador in Nigeria, 2000-2003, I coined the phrase that Nigeria was the essential country in Africa. That remains true today. And really what happens in Nigeria reverberates throughout the continent, and especially in West Africa. But throughout the continent, the people of Africa look to Nigeria for leadership. And I think that they've given them a glimmer of that leadership with these past elections. Now, in terms of the relationship with the U.S., I think that this election should strengthen that relationship. Nigeria is very important for U.S. foreign policy in Africa, and our interests are both very broad and very deep, and I see a strengthening of that relationship in coming days. I would hope, and I'll add this, that this also opens the door for President Obama when he visits Africa again in 2015 to certainly consider a trip to and visit to Nigeria. His going there would be very important for the Nigerian people.
Indeed. Ambassador Jittah, thank you very much. Ambassador Howard Jittah is a former U.S. ambassador to Nigeria. Well, it's time now for a short break. Still to come on Africa 54, a star-studded list of musicians launch a new music service. We'll have the details when we come back.
If you've just joined us, I'm Mariama Diallo, and here is a quick recap of today's headlines. In Nigeria, Muhammadu Buhari makes history. He's the first person to win presidential elections from the opposition party in 16 years. We stay in Nigeria, where a fuel truck explodes in the city of Port Harcourt. In Uganda, senior chief prosecutor John Kagezi is shot dead in a supposedly targeted assassination. Finally, in Libya, after months of clashes between Islamic fighters and army forces, Libyan officials examine destruction in the city of Benghazi. That's it for today. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Welcome back to Africa 54. Here's what's trending. It was a launch like no other. Madonna, Rihanna, Beyonce, and Jay-Z are among the A-list musicians who are co-owners of Tidal, a streaming service being billed as the first artist-owned platform for music and video. Kanye West, Daft Punk, Alicia Keys, and Nicki Minaj also announced that they are co-owners of the streaming service. The membership-based service is similar to subscription service Spotify and will provide music and exclusive video content that users can stream on computers, tablets, and smartphones or listen to offline. The service quietly and now launched in October. Why the stars waited so long to make the announcement wasn't explained, and that is what is trending today. Well, and finally, or rather, before we end, finally, gamers in the UK have a new place to call home. This is one museum with a difference. At Nottingham's brand new National Video Game Arcade, Pac-Man, Space Invaders, and many other famous games are coming down from the attic and back into the spotlight. Visitors young and old can click away on vintage arcade machines, home computers, or the latest in experimental technology. Now the National Video Game Arcade is open. Organizers are hoping to attract around 60,000 visitors a year. And now, that is what is trending today. And that's our show for today. Be sure to watch Africa 54 on our website at voaafrica.com for more news. Tune in to VOA's evening radio show, Africa News Tonight at 1800 UTC, and in the mornings, Today Break Africa between 0300 and 0600 UTC, Monday through Friday. Thanks a lot for watching. From all of us here in Washington, have a good night.
Music is something that brings people together.
Music educates, it motivates, it's a bridge.
Music. Ali.
On
VOA.
I am Sheikh Sali, host and senior editor of VOA's international call-in talk show, Straight Talk Africa. The issues that we discuss are pertinent to most people on the African continent.
We are able to touch on things that are important to people on an everyday basis. Hello and welcome. I'm Vincent McCory. This is Africa 54. In a lively half hour, news, sports, health, lifestyle information, comments from our viewers. Africa 54, the best for Africa, about Africa. Join us only on VOA.